falling in love in Harvard Square. It's spring, and we move together through crowded Harvard Square, and you're saying, notice the way they walk right through you, they won't yield. Oh, it's not so bad, I say, and the things they talk about, left brain, right brain, yin and yang, I say. Cute, you say, but you don't take this seriously. Just listen to their conversations. I feel like saying, excuse me, what's your brain made of, sir? Vanilla? I love you, I say. Please, this once, be happy. Really, really now, this is a serious thing. Come on, feel the sunshine. But they say things like, well, if you're using those parameters, Clyde, then you're speaking of an artificial reality. No, honey, that's not a big deal. Then use impact as a verb. Oh, baby. And there's the way they walk. They don't care. Right into you. And with that, a bearded, bespectacled backpacker approaches, his nose stuck in a book titled User-Friendly and Other Essays. And I say, uh-oh, and you say, I'm not moving. And slam, and bam, and we are standing in the gutter. Next time, you say, just wait. Next time, I'm not moving. Right, I say, whoops, watch it. And here comes a woman, tight pants, tight blouse, uptown. I mean, looking good. I see your eyes are saying, and your creative left brain merging with your analytical right brain. And suddenly, she barrels into me. Fucking A, I cry. And you say, really, it's no big deal. Chelsea Hotel, this one's for my mother. It is spring in the city that once was mine. Each visit tells me I love it with the old intensity, strong as the colors of the sun setting behind Park Avenue, near where my father's studio used to be. My mother and I are on our way to a matinee of what she says is now the new off-Broadway. We turn off onto West 23rd Street, and a wind from the Hudson worries my hat. Oh, that hat, says my mother, as I grab for the brim of my English tweed. It's what you would call smart, I say, linking my other arm through hers. Yes, well, she says it's the association that I wouldn't call smart. We approach a red and white awning that shades the sidewalk. Diverted, she says, oh, here is the Chelsea Hotel. You know, this is where Dylan Thomas stayed when he gave his reading tours. He stayed here with that American woman. He loved her and he loved his wife, and he couldn't choose between them. Choices are so hard, I say. Choices are not so hard, my mother says, if one uses some good judgment and maturity. We stop before the bronze plaque, and on the stone front beside the hotel entryway, I read aloud, for my mother's sight is dimming. Macular degeneration, the first doctor said. Retinal scarring, said another, and another. Dedicated to the memory of Dylan Thomas, I read, who lived and labored at last here at the Chelsea Hotel, and from here sailed out to die. Do not go gentle into that good night, begins my mother softly. That was Daddy's favorite poem. I think I still have the old Caven record somewhere. She still navigates the city, attends theater, volunteers at the library. It's just that she doesn't jump up from her book anymore and move like a curious young girl to the large dictionary on the wooden stand. It's so frustrating not being able to read anymore. She said that once, and it's all she has ever said about it. There's a rich history here at the Chelsea, my mother says now. Arthur Miller, Thomas Wolfe, Mark Twain. Presented and dedicated by Caveman Records, I continue reading, on the anniversary of his 50th birthday, October 27th, 1964. Do not go gentle into that good night, I say. Old age, continues my mother, should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. He wrote that, I think, to inspire his father to fight death. Not death, I say, his advancing blindness. I thought it was death at first, but I remember old Professor Milhauser telling the class it was about his father losing his sight. Oh, well then, said my mother quietly, then rage. Yes, rage, I say, against the dying, and my mother says dying of the light. Brave men knew death, who see with blinding sight, I continue reciting, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Oh yes, I understand what your professor said now, says my mother. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. You know, she says, I think that's what killed him, that he couldn't choose between them, his wife, and that American woman. He chose to die, Mother. Went to that bar, told him to line up the 28 shots. Bang, bang, bang. Really smart choice. Your choices haven't always been so wise, she says. My stomach knots. Even if you could call your ambivalence a choice. Mother, I chose to get married. I chose to get unmarried. Yes, you did, my mother said, and not just once, either. Marriage takes character, something you don't seem to understand, and a sense of responsibility. And I remembered the way the sunsets burned like brandy, and all the windows up Park Avenue, up Fifth, those nights the city stretched before me with what I believed were endless possibilities. That was the past, Mother. All that's past. Oh yes, said my mother. Seems I can recall just this past winter and your ridiculous notions about romance. How romantic to go off to a fantasy world. If you only knew how you sounded, how superficial. She was starting in again on the lover she had called an escape. Daddy would have liked him, I said. He would have said, awfully nice fellow, simpatico. Your father would have said exactly what I said. You had a husband, a responsibility. Not that he would have been our choice for a husband for you, but he was trying. He'd stopped drinking. Choices, a hard one. For a husband, however erstwhile, his family, roots. Suddenly the wind picks up again, and my mother seems small, fragile, as she buffets against me. Oh dear, she laughs. What rage. The wind sweeps towards us and lifts my hat, but this time, instead of reaching for it, I let it go and encircle both my arms through my mother's and hold her close. You know, she says softly now, all Daddy and I ever wanted was your happiness. In the wind's gust, my Irish breed, the hat my lover bought me last season on Martinique, the romantic isle of Martinique, goes bowling down the street. That hat, my mother laughs again. Rage, I shout above the wind, and rage, I whisper in her ear. Rage, rage, my mother says, and rage against the dying of the light. And walking that way on in the wind, I tell her that I love her. And I think how we grow strong as we grow fragile under the sad weight of the years, and that our choices get easier.